So we left off by finishing the driving strengths, and we've gone into some of the others. So again, I'm going to go directly into the seeing. We'll take some together here and bounce around a little bit. We're going to go into the seeing strengths. So who has futuristic in the room? Futuristic people, raise your hands. Futuristic. There's a few of you. Again, look around at the unit of the body. You see your futuristic. Not a whole lot. Futuristic. So people with futuristic are the natural visionaries. They see 7 years out, 9 years out, 11 years out, and they see it very clearly and very accurately. They love seeing into the future. So again, I know a group, when Greg and I with the Ministry Leadership Institute do strategic planning, and we start talking to a group, even before knowing their strengths, and saying, we're going to help you set 10-year targets. And the whole group moans like, oh, that's impossible. That's not. I know for sure no one on that team has futuristic. Because when we work with a team with futuristic, when we say, hey, we're going to help you set 10-year goal, someone is in there, oh, let's think 20. Let's think 25. Let's think, because futuristic truly can see out those distances. And they bring that vision, and they can be very motivating and exciting with that. So futuristic, seeing out. Strategic, we've talked about again. Prioritization, problem identification, executive level managerial seeing theme. Connectedness now. Who has connectedness in the room? Raise your hand, connectedness. You look around you, again, see the parts of the body around you. Connectedness is the high-level seeing, the big picture seeing. People with connectedness see things in a web-like structure. They see if we do A, it connects to B, connects to C, D. People with connectedness want to connect people, programs, and ideas. They're bridge builders. People with connectedness get very frustrated if they work in a siloed environment. And what I mean by siloed is I'll just put it in ministry terms. If evangelism is not talking to membership, is not talking to education, is not talking to elders, is not talking to trustees, frustrating. Because they see the need for everyone to be talking together. They tend to be cross-cultural in nature because they see the importance of every person, every group. Connectedness brings that sight. Originally, when Don Clifton developed this tool, he called connectedness the strength of spirituality. Don Clifton was a strong Christian, used a lot of Christian terms. They've secularized it since, but people connect into spirituality because they see everything through God's lens. Through God's creation, everything interconnects, and they bring that. And you need that. See, people get frustrated on a team when someone maybe brings up connectedness and says it's because they don't have it, but now that you understand that you need it, and it's a strength, you can use that and say, all right, who do we need to get these messages to? And connect and say, well, that's got to go to the secretary, it's got to go to the pastor, it's got to go here, it's got to go there. Web-like structure, big picture. They see the forest and the trees. Context. Who has context in the room? All right, take a look again. Unit of the body, context. Context is my 34th strength. It is way down there. So, context people, here's how it works. It's a seeing strength. They see the past to inform and influence the present to lead to the future. So people with context, here's how you talk to them. You say to them, who has context again out there? Someone raise your hand. Okay, right in the middle, blonde hair, shout out your name. Patty says, so Patty's got context. So I'm going to go to Patty. I'm going to say, and I'm going to pretend Patty's been a member here for 9 years. I'm going to say, Patty, I'm new here. I think we should do this. And Patty's going to say, you know, we tried that 7 years ago. Here's why it didn't work. Here's what you can do to possibly make it work to lead us forward. That's what context brings. See, people with context, they love historical markers. If they see a historical marker, they stop for it. So how many context people like to read historical markers? Raise it. Oh, there's Patty. I knew it, Patty. I could see that. See, people with context actually go to a museum and they read the placards on the wall. They read the placards. I go to a museum with responsibility, achieve, or discipline. I go to a museum to finish it as fast as possible. You seen one mummy? You seen them all. Let's get out of here. I got something else to do right away. So, whereas context people actually read it, they enjoy it, but that's great. They bring the past to the present to lead to the future. Ideation. So ideation you'll see is a seeing strength as well as a problem identification. So who has ideation in the room? Ideation. Raise your hands. All right, we were talking earlier about that. Justin, right? Okay, so Justin and I were talking about this. Ideation. Ideation is the original creativity theme. Creative ideas. Now, people that have ideation, number 1, 2, or 3, usually describe it like this. It's like there's a remote control going in my head, flipping from channel to channel, never stopping. Constant, idea to idea to idea. But that's why it's creative, because they have all these ideas. They love ideas, and they love sharing ideas. Many times people with ideation have people nervous around because they share 15 ideas, and people with command and all this, they think, I can't get 15 things started. But see, ideation people don't want 15 things started. They just like sharing those ideas and then pick the best ones. And as a problem identification, because they go through all these ideas, they can help get to that real issue quickly. Now, the cautionary side with ideation is it can be kind of the shiny object syndrome. So if a pastor has ideation, he's working on a sermon on Adam and Eve, here's how it goes. Adam and Eve, all right, I'm doing research on Adam and Eve. Oh, there's the trees. Oh yeah, evergreen trees. I had a Christmas tree when I was a kid. Christmas trees. Ornaments. Ornaments are awesome. I really like ornaments. Oh, this place makes ornaments. And then pretty soon after 8 hours, like, where was I again? Where did I start? So it can kind of be the squirrel. So again, ideation needs to be funneled, and that's where they need those partners that have strong either strategic to get them prioritized or traction and driving to keep them focused. But again, ideation is great when it's used. It's creative. It's wonderful. It's idea-oriented. It's amazing. So we tap into that and understand it. It's powerful. Analytical. You'll notice analytical is a seeing strength as well as a problem-solving strength. Who has analytical in the room? Raise your hands. Analytical. Again, see the unit of the body. Look for your partners out there. Analytical. So analytical people, here's how I like to start this. Analytical people are kind of the 2-year-olds that never grew out of that 2-year-old phase. Because they like to ask the question, why? Why are we doing this? Why is this important? And it's not because they stand in the way, but they really want to know why. We call it the show me strength. It wants proof. And once they know why, they'll move with it. Now, again, having command and activator, that analytical helps you a little bit. But again, it can help you, but you can tap into it more to help inform those decisions and make those things. People with analytical, if you're 3 cents off on the budget, they're like, we're 3 cents off on the budget. I don't have analytical. It's like 27. So I'm like, here's 3 cents. And they're like, no, Scott, you don't understand. There's a problem in the formula. There's something wrong here really deep. We got to dig deep and find where those 3 cents are. And I'm like, no, here's the 3 cents. I stole it. Here it is. I'm giving it back. I'll apologize to the congregation. Sorry, let's move on. No, but you really need that analytical because more than likely, if there is something missing, they dig deep, find the microscopic detail that's wrong in the formula and fix it. That's what analytical can do. And that's why it's problem solving, because it figures out what needs to be solved, and it's seeing because it can, again, see those steps and understand why behind it as it digs deep. Deliberative, we've talked about, that 99%. So let's go to interpersonal. Who has empathy in the room? Empathy. Holy schmoly. Whew. You guys are going to be some deep-feeling groups. I'll tell you what. I better not start crying up here because all the empathy people are going to start crying right with me. So I got to be careful here. I got to be careful. But the strength of empathy is this. People with empathy truly live the feelings of those around them. Truly live it. If someone's happy, they're happy. If someone's sad, they're sad. If someone's mad, they're mad. They live those feelings. They understand those feelings. Now, what I caution you here, unless you have developed or something else with it, you may live those feelings, but you don't always care. And that's the reality. You understand the feelings, you live them, but you don't always care. As a matter of fact, if you have empathy with, who has empathy and restorative? Anybody empathy and restorative together? Okay, that's the ultimate psychology counseling combination factor. So people that have empathy and restorative, ultimate that way, because they can see the feelings, understand the feelings, and the restorative is they can help people fix what's going on. Now, empathy and restorative can get frustrated quickly if people don't take their advice. So that's the cautionary note. Restorative wants to fix it and fix it now. So if they tell people for a year, fix it. Now, if they're counselors and they're collecting $400 an hour, it may not matter that much. No, don't practice that. Help them. Get them through the solution. But again, empathy really lives it. Now, here's the really cautionary note with empathy. My wife has empathy number 2. Empathy people really live these emotions and feelings. We've always worked urban ministry. My wife is still South Minneapolis urban ministry, hardcore, 15 preschoolers coming from really distraught backgrounds. She has empathy number 2. Now, when she would come home from work and things like that, I'd be like, hey, let's go do this, let's go do this, let's go do that. And she'd be like, whoa, leave me alone. And I didn't understand always. It's been in the last 7 years, we've learned strengths, revolutionized our marriage. But before we knew strengths, I'd be like, I'm hurt. I'm your husband. Why don't you want to do anything with me? I don't get it. And I would pester her, really, literally. But now I understand. See, empathy people need time to decompress every day. You have to build that into your day. So now I understand. My wife comes home. She needs 30 to 45 minutes to play Candy Crush or watch a Netflix Nicholas Sparks show or something or read a book or extra. But you've got to find what helps you to decompress. So how old are you, if I can ask, and your name?
Sean, 36.
Okay. And so you have empathy and restorative? Yeah. Do you work in counseling and things like that?
I'm a counselor.
Awesome. How do you decompress every day?
TV.
Okay. You've got to. And you have to take that time for yourself. She said TV. Decompress by TV. I don't care what it is. Exercise, TV, read a book, games. You've got to decompress because otherwise it builds up and you're going to explode or you're going to give up or you're going to be worn out. So empathy people need that decompression every day, especially pastors. If they have a tough funeral, a wedding, they're living the sorrow on Friday, the wedding joy on Saturday, and 2 baptisms on Sunday. That joy by Sunday afternoon comes around, they're done. Leave them alone, please. Let them decompress. And it's the same thing for all of you with empathy. Give that time. Like me, I had to learn that with my wife. Now she comes home and I'm like, hey, good to see you. She goes off. 45 minutes later, she comes out and we have a great night. But I understand that now. My feelings are hurt. She's working to her strengths. Praise be to God. And I understand them. So now I can help her work to those strengths. Empathy. Includer. Who has includer in the room? Raise your hand. Includers. Take a look around. Unit of the body again. Includer is the warmest of the interpersonals. Includers will be talking to 3 people and they'll see the person on the outside and they want to get that person engaged. They see the wallflowers. They have a heart for those that are marginalized or the fringe people and they want to reach out to them. So includers, the women here who are planning weddings, those of you that are includers that have weddings, I'm going to dare say that it was really difficult to cut down that list of who you invited to your wedding. Because if includers are going to have a party, they start with a list of 5 and it becomes 55 because who are you going to leave out? Who are you not going to invite? Get everybody here. So my 2 sons have includer, and they're great kids, good grades, good athletes. And when they were younger, I'd watch them at school and different things and different roles I played, and they'd be always picked to be the captain of their team. And their first pick would be their best friend who's a really good athlete. I'm like, good pick. Then their second pick would be the kid that no one else would pick. And I, who do not have includer, like, you're not going to win with that. What are you doing? That's a terrible pick. What are you thinking? Maximize your back there. It's like, oh my goodness, what are you thinking? Competition people, but see, they had a heart. They had a heart for the people that wouldn't get picked by anyone else. To this day, our house is the house for misfit toys, meaning we have people from all kinds of backgrounds, all kinds of levels, all kinds of areas coming through our house and being welcomed and engaged in our household because of my 2 boys using that strength. They just have a heart. So those includers have a heart for those that might be left out, and they see it. So how do you use that? Well, in church, they should be in charge of seeing someone who's standing on the fringe, kind of looking down. They can go over and say, hey, I'm Susie. How can we help you? And then you can engage them with the other people and get them in the groups. So includer, warmest of the interpersonal. Relator, who's relator in the room? All right, there's a few of you. I have relator number 1. Here's how relator works. Relator is all about deep collegial relationships with a close-knit group of people. So relator is just the exact opposite of woo. So relators walk into a room of 200, can't wait and pray that they know 2 or 3 people, and they go sit at their back table with those 2 or 3. And they spend the whole night going deep. Woos walk into a room of 200, can't wait to meet everyone. This is great. Shake the hands, kiss babies. Oh, this is awesome. This is awesome. See, woos will view relators as standoffish. Why are you sitting at that table by yourself, all these people to meet? And relators can view woos as shallow. You're only meeting for 2 to 3, 4 minutes. But you need them both, and here's how they work. See, the woos can go and network that room at 200 and then come back to the relators like Tim Glendy and say, here are 2 people that I think could really serve on council, would be great. Now, Tim can handle those 2 people and be energized by 2. But if he has to work through 200 to get to 2, it just takes the life out of you, all the energy, because he has to work outside of that strength. So I've worked with pastors and ministers that don't have woo and they're in charge of a mission congregation, and they'll say, and they have relator, they'll say, I shouldn't be a mission pastor. I don't have woo. It takes so much energy to knock on all doors. I said, well, who told you have to knock on the doors? Well, I'm a mission pastor. I said, yes, you are. So let's find the woo person, the unit of the body, let them knock on 200 doors, and let them come back to you with the top 5 prospects. And then you go visit those top 5. He said, I never thought about it like that. And see, that's the power. He can go deep. But to find those 5, if he has to go through 200, it's going to just take the life out of them. So to use those strengths, complementing each other, working together is powerful when you understand them and you understand these 8 categories working together. Developer, again, we talked about baby steps, encourager, Individualization. Who has individualization in the room? Raise your hand. Individualization. All right, you see them all. Unit of the body. There we go. Individualization people. These are people that see the uniqueness in every person. They want every person treated differently based upon their unique needs. And they see it very clearly. And they see it very powerfully. Strong coaching strength, personal coaching, to see those, and they can motivate them. Now, the exact opposite of individualization is anyone who has consistency. So who has consistency in the room? Raise your hand, consistency. All right, so individualization, people note consistency, note individualization. Because here's how it works. Consistency people are all about treating everyone the same, equal. That's powerful. Consistency people are policy people, systems people. See, people consistency, if they're in a meeting or something, and someone says, I think we need to do this uniquely for this family, they'll say, why do we even have a handbook and a policy book if we're not going to follow it, if we're not going to use it? And individualization people are like, no, I hate policies and systems, but you need them both. See, how they work well together is this. When the individualization person says, we need to do this uniquely for this family because they're suffering from this terrible, ramification from whatever, then the consistency person says, that's fine, but we need to do that same thing now for every family in that same situation. And now they can work well together. They can balance. Now, consistency, the funny part with that is my wife has consistency number 1, so I'll see if this plays for you this way. See, consistency people want to treat everyone the same. So I have 4 children. One of them is an international son who's lived with us for 7 years. He's just become an integral part of our family. So my 4 children that way. My wife has consistency. So if she spends $200 on one child for Christmas or something, she spends $200 on every child. And if she spends less than $200, she writes a check to make up the difference. If she buys one child lunch, so this is great. My kids know how to play this now with mom. So she'll come home with my daughter, and they'll see in the car there's like a Culver's bag or something. And they're like, oh, Mom, you bought Sarah Culver's, what about us? And she'll play this, and she's like, nope, we were out, it was special, but within 30 minutes, she's buying them something. Because that consistency plays so strong that you want to treat everyone the same, policy-driven. My wife comes home frustrated so often from faculty meetings saying, why do we even have these policies if we're not going to use them? I said, well, remember, you got 3 people on your team with individualization. She's like, oh, yeah, that's right. You need each other, but you got to understand each other and work together. So consistency, individualization that way. Then we go to maximizer we've already done, going down to lifestyle now, really tapping into that. We saw consistency, lifestyle. So we'll go to adaptability. Who has adaptability in the room? Raise your hands. Whew, quite a few. Oh boy, lots of adaptability. Flexible people, that's good. So adaptability, the real strength of adaptability is they can handle change. Adaptability people love 4 hours of unscheduled time. That is awesome. 4 hours of nothing. That is great. But the real strength of adaptability is you can go with the flow. You get energized by change. You can roll with things as they come at you. You can make those different moves and not feel pain. The exact opposite of adaptability is myself with discipline. Who has discipline in the room again? Raise your hand, discipline. So adaptability people look at these people because they have no understanding of you. So my whole family, here's how God has a sense of humor without a doubt. I have discipline. My whole family, my 4 children, my wife have adaptability. So I'm all about setting my clothes out the night before, my routine. My kids now come in the room and switch all my clothes. Just to have fun with that. Thank you, my children. But here's the real power of this, working from strengths. And this is where I wish I know my children's strengths many, many moons ago. Now again, if you're going to work with children, there's a book out there, again, talks about the strengths for parenting, strengths-based parenting. You can work with children 9 to 13. It helps your children evaluate into 10 categories, where they might have a visionary category or a discipline, a structure category, and it's really powerful. It doesn't pinpoint the strengths, but puts them into categories. And then when they're 16, 17, 18, taking StrengthsFinder, figuring that out, and I know the Rudot family is using that, and that's awesome. I know a lot of families doing that. But I wish I had known my children's strengths when they were 10 years old. We found them out when they're 14, 16, 17, 18. So my second son has adaptability number 1. And I'd go to him when he was 10. And I have discipline, responsibility, achiever. I'm all, get it done now. So I'd go to him when he's 10. I'd say, Seth, can you help us by doing the dishes? Sure, Dad, no problem. I come back 10 minutes later, guess what? He's still sitting in the same spot. I'm like, Seth, what are you doing? I asked you to do this. See, in my mind, it's do it now. In his mind, it's do it later that night, before tomorrow, when we need a clean plate. So now Now that I understand that, I parent completely differently. I go to Seth now, who's still, he's 20. He's working on his generals, getting college stuff going, so that I love having him. I have Relator, so it's about deep collegial relations. I'll keep my kids with me till I die. That's fine with me. I'm good with that Relator. Maximizer, so, let's get him on the road, get him out. But the Relator softens it for Tim. He still loves being around his children. All right. So, but with that, now I go to my son Seth, and I'll say, Seth, at 12 noon, I'll go to him at 12 noon. I'll say, Seth, I need you to do the dishes by 7 o'clock when Mom comes home. So now I'm working from his strengths because I'm giving him 7 hours where he can be flexible, do it whenever he feels like it in the 7 hours. So he's got that flexibility built in, but I'm also getting the dishes done in the time frame where I need them done. I'm working from his strengths. So no longer do his strengths frustrate me, but I'm engaged with them. I'm encouraging him and say, use that adaptability. Do it when it fits best. And it's powerful for him. No longer do we butt heads, but we become best friends because we understand each other's strengths. And God is really blessing that. So again, when we understand the strengths, not just of our partners in ministry, but our family and those around us, it's really powerful because you look at each other now and not why aren't they like me, but how can I help them grow in their strengths? And again, the purposes that God has prepared in advance for them to do. Positivity, again, talked about that a little bit before. People with positivity, brighten the room with their smile. Raise your hands, positivity people. Okay, look around, parts of the body. There we go. Brighten the room with their smile. Glass is always half full. I was just working with a woman 2 days ago on a personal consultation. Actually, a husband and wife. They're taking a new call to be missionaries in China. And we did a husband and wife thing to help prep them because it's big changes and all these things. And we did this husband and wife. She has positivity, woo, communication. Really, just loves being around people. Developer, really soft touch, all these things, but just super excited. And she said, Scott, the glass is never half full. I always see it as full. It's half full with water and half full with air. It's totally full. I'm like, all right, whatever, real positivity. No, but positivity lifts up that environment, builds that positive environment, can keep people's heads up even in the darkest of time. So positivity, very important. Then we go to responsibility. Who has responsibility in the room? Raise your hands. Look around you again, responsibility people. And why? And those of you that don't have responsibility, look around at you, because if you ask them to do something, they're going to say yes. Because responsibility people on the dark side, the shadow side, have trouble saying no, and they can overcommit. Now, the real strength of responsibility is they're highly credible, highly trustworthy. If they say they're going to do something, they're going to do it. Now, that's why responsibility is not a driving strength, because people with responsibility do the things that are in their position description, they're tasked to do, or they agree to do. They don't just create things to just do them, like pure driving strengths, like my achiever. I'll just do something for the sake of doing it. Whereas responsibility people do the things that are tasked to them, and they do them well. They hate being micromanaged, because if they say they're going to do it, they're going to do it. But again, the downside to it is responsibility is the weight of the world's strength. You feel like you're responsible for everything. It also carries great guilt and shame, because people with responsibility, if you have a work meeting and a family gathering, if you choose the work meeting, you're feeling guilty about not being at the family gathering. If you choose the family gathering, you're feeling guilty about not being at the work meeting. You got to let go and let God. What we encourage people with responsibility is you've got to be able to forgive yourself and let go. You cannot be responsible for everything. And as a matter of fact, we try to teach you how to say no, because that's a really big and important thing, because you can become overextended. And so again, a great partner for responsibility is someone who is strategic, because again, strategic always knows why you should or why you should not. So responsibility people find that strategic partner and say, I've been asked to do these 5 things, what do you think? And they can help prioritize that for you and help you to say no to those things. But people with responsibility, if they're sitting in a meeting and somebody says, hey, we need this done, and it's quiet, within about a minute, they're like, I'll do it. Because they just feel that weight. So again, I'm going to say, let go of that. Be able to say no, prioritize, find those partners in the body, and use those strategic people that can bring that sight for you. Responsibility. I have responsibility also, and my family was being evaluated when I was 4 years old for adopting. And the social worker came to my parents and said, do you realize your 4-year-old feels like he has the weight of the world on his shoulders? And my parents said, yeah, he's always been like that. I've had to find ways to let go, because it can really bring me down trying to do everything. And the only one that can do all things is God, not me. I'm not God. That's where we, again, need each other. Unity of the body. Belief. Who has belief in the room? Wow, quite a few of you. Quite a few of you. All right, you can put your hands up. Belief is a really deep strength. Belief is unique. And actually, put your hands up again, please, belief people. Really look at each other, because all of you with belief have the real potential to butt heads, and butt heads hard. Okay, you can put your hands down. Here's why. Because belief is all about the inner core values that drive you. If it's outside of your inner core values, you won't touch it. And as a matter of fact, you'll look at people that don't see it the same way as they're crazy. They're bad. This is not good. They won't, it's very myopic. Now, the power of belief is that if it is in your core values, it'll actually mask itself as traction, right? Because you'll get it started, you'll get it finished, because it is just the fiber of who you are. Now, people will say, Scott, I don't have belief in my top 5. Does it mean I don't have faith? No. Belief can be grounded on your faith, but it's about your unique core values. So what I encourage every one of you with belief is tonight, begin to think about writing your life value statement to be able to share with others. We challenged your leadership group here at St. Peter to do that, because 10 out of the 13 leaders have belief. And they get butt heads if they didn't understand those values. So they all wrote their life value statement, and then they gave it to the analytical person who looked at all of those 10 statements and broke it down into 3 commonalities. And now everything funnels through those 3 commonalities to appeal to that belief, or at least they try to. And that's the power of it. So I was working with one pastor, and Andy doesn't mind me using him, Mark Hares, who's in charge of the Truth and Love for Mormons ministry. He has belief number 2. His life value statement basically is this. Scott, my life value statement, he'll say is, I will do anything and everything and only things that will directly reach and impact the lost. So that means he's never going to work on a hymnal committee. He's never going to work on a doctrinal study committee, and he won't. But here's the power behind this. Now that he understands that. See, 25 years ago, he viewed anyone working on a hymnal or working on a doctrinal study as time wasters. What a waste of time. But now he realizes that he needs, the people that he's reaching, he needs a place to drop them off. And he realizes that probably those people have the life value statement of discipling people or teaching people or whatever it might be. And so now he sees the value in them, the value in himself, and now they don't butt heads, but they cooperatively work together. If something is outside of your belief, and you're working a job and they go outside of your values, you'll quit the job without having one lined up, because you can't do it. It's exactly what my mom did in her last year before retirement. She's a nurse in nursing home. She's determined her life value statement is people come first no matter what. Constantly forgiving life. And in nursing homes, the new company that came in said, you're going to spend 4 hours on the floor, 4 hours with the people. And my mom said, the people need me more. And the new group said, that's why we have people that come in and change the sheets when they soil the beds. You're doing 4 hours of paperwork, 4 hours with the people. My mom started getting migraine headaches, stomach aches, physically ill. My dad said, we could use the last 4 months, but it's not worth it, retire early. And she did, because they stepped outside of her values. So it's really important that you, with belief, determine that life value statement and share it. Share it. And help people understand and understand theirs. The one pastor missionary, his life value statement is, I will find joy in every moment. So if he's working with a team that's down in the dumps and won't come out of it and just wants to be negative, he's out of there. He's done. He's moving on. Because his life value is, I will find joy in every moment and help others to see that joy. So again, figure that out. Share it. Very powerful, because anything outside of it, you're not touching. As a matter of fact, it can irritate you. Now, it doesn't have to irritate you, like Pastor Mark Harris. He realized those values are just as valid as mine, but I'm going to keep doing mine and direct people with these other ones to them. And that's how it works together. But you've got to understand them and share them. Harmony. Who has harmony in the room? Raise your hand. Harmony. Harmony is a great strength. Look around. Excellent. So harmony people. I love you all, because harmony people tonight, I'm going to ask you, how many people, are you having a good time tonight? See, they're all going to nod their heads. But then in the parking lot, they're going to be like, that was the dumbest thing ever. Because the negative, the downside of harmony, the shadow side is avoiding conflict. But the power of harmony, this is the strength. People with harmony understand what makes people tick. So the real power is to jump into, embrace conflict, and bring peaceable results. So sometimes people that have harmony that don't see it, like, I don't avoid conflict, then you're probably using it right. Because you're not avoiding those situations, you're jumping into them, and you're bringing peace. That's the power of harmony. So my oldest son has harmony number 2. He went away to college. The first month he's gone, the whole house is arguing more. And I'm thinking to myself, what is going on here? Why does it seem like, and I'm like, oh, Samuel's not here, our harmony boy. See, what he'll do is he'll come out and put his arm around and say, Dad, you know when you talk like that, Mom's going to act this way? And he'll go to Mom, you know, it's just Dad being Dad. You go to brothers and sisters, let's shoot some baskets, play a game. It gets us off of those things. As a matter of fact, 6 months ago, my son, who's 22, sat myself and my mom down because we both have belief in some opposite values. Not bad ones, but opposite. And he sat us down at the table and said, you two got to talk. This is ridiculous. You two got to talk this out. And he sat there and he mediated. And he brought us to peaceful results. It was an awesome use. He jumps into those situations. And that's the strength of harmony. The other thing with harmony, I would go to my harmony people before any meeting because you can read the room. And I'd say, do not let us leave this room unless we're all on the same page. So before the end of the meeting, I'd talk to my harmony people and say, all right, harmony people, are we all on the same page? And they say, you know, Scott, George, I don't think he's there. I don't think they're there. We're not on the same page. And then they can actually clarify it. And they can say, Scott, you said this before? And because if I say something tonight even, and they know it'll be like a hot button for someone, you know, I'll start bringing up politics. No, I won't. But they're like, oh, boy, I can't believe you said that about politics. That's going to really, George is going to be mad. Oh, my. Their hand goes to their head. They know right away, innately. They understand. So what I want them to do at that time, and I'll encourage them, and I'll say, if I say something that, you know, I want them to say, Scott, you just said this, but I think you mean this. And I'll say, oh, that's exactly what I mean. And then they'll say to George, does that make sense? And George will say, it didn't before, but it does now. See, they have that innate ability to understand what makes people tick, bring it together, and have those peaceful results. So embrace conflict, harmony, people. I know it may be right now outside of your comfort zone, but you can do it. That is an amazing strength to bring peaceable results. So embrace it, use it. Keep strengthening it, encouraging it in each other. Consistency, we talked about. Discipline, we talked about. Let's go to wild cards. Learner. I have learner. Who has learner in the room? Raise your hand. Learners. Awesome. So learners, whether you ever thought about this or not, you're risk takers. Now, you might be thinking, I'm not a risk taker. No. See, many times learners don't consider themselves risk takers because they learn everything they need to do to mitigate the possibility for failure. And so they don't consider risk, but others will. So even just trying new recipes, trying new things, that's a risk. People deliberative want 99% of the information. They're not doing it. Learners will jump in and they'll say, I'll figure it out, we'll do it. See, if someone comes to a learner and says, we got to change all the policies here, how we do everything, how we record everything, how we do, a learner will say, not my favorite thing, but we'll figure it out. Because they'll learn it. Whereas you go to someone with analytical or deliberate and say, we got to change it now. Well, analytical will be like, why? You got to be kidding, what do you mean? And deliberate will say, not enough information. And learner will be in the room and say, yeah, not my favorite, but we'll figure it out. I like to go to hobbies, so just give this some thought on the risk-taking. I was talking to one principal one time, we had learner number 1, and he said, oh, I'm not a risk-taker, no way, no way. And I said, okay, tell me your hobbies. He said, well, I fly hot air balloons. And he said, I didn't have to say a thing, he said, oh, yeah. He said, I don't view it as risk because I learned everything about it. I said, right, that's the key. Learners can master new things and figure that out. So now something else that we do uniquely with Ministry Leadership Institute is we have determined with partners of ours, research of ours, and other people's research that certain strengths together manifest in different ways. Remember I mentioned restorative and empathy, the ultimate counseling, psychology combination factor. Those of you with developer and empathy, raise your hand. Developer and empathy. Okay, these are people that are caring, patient, loyal, intense about relationships. They feed off of each other. Now, in the room, who has learner and achiever? Raise your hands. Learner and achiever together. I do too, so there's a few of you. Learner, achiever. Everybody look at them because you're going to have to call them by a new name in just a minute. See, the military uses StrengthsFinder also for its officer training programs, and they've determined if you have learner and achiever, it manifests in what is called the VUCA strength, V-U-C-A, which stands for these are people that can handle volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous situations, and they make sense out of it. And see, the military fast tracks those people to be generals because those are the people they have to throw into those situations. So everybody, learner, achiever, raise your hands again. So your new title is general. Awesome, isn't that great? So everybody in the room, you got to salute them. You do. That's the new law. But it's really, people with learner achiever, these are the combo factors. This is where we take you deeper on the one-on-ones, but learner achiever together, They don't want to be a cog in the machine or a spoke on the wheel. They want to be someone who can make a difference. They get excited when somebody says, oh man, our ministry is terrible. Learner Achiever's like, oh, great. I can help fix that. This is going to be awesome. But if someone comes and says, our ministry is perfect, we just want you to manage this, Learner Achiever's like, not the place for me. I have Learner Achiever. I've always been engaged in urban ministry, urban education, urban outreach, or starting brand new ministries. Fits my Learner Achiever. I'm excited by that. But if somebody calls me up and says, we just want you to fill this role, yeah, somebody else can do that. It's not where I'm going to best utilize my strengths. And I can make those things and assess those things through our strengths. So Learner Achiever, that's a wild card again, learner. Communication, who has communication in the room? Raise your hand. Look around you again. So communication people. These are people that enjoy either speaking good orally, speeches, standing up here in front of you. I have communication number 6. And it works well sometimes, not always. We'll see. My Harmony people are saying, is my communication working tonight all right, Harmony? Thank you, that's good. Again, I'm not listening to the conversation in the parking lot. I'm just going by the nodding heads here. But communication again, natural ease with verbal or written or both. Now communication, again, no downside to it, but the cautionary side is this. Sometimes it can be called the lazy theme because communication people only need like 3 bullet points and they can run with it. They don't need to write out paragraph after paragraph. As a matter of fact, when I work with pastors who have communication, I actually encourage them to say, stop writing out paragraph by paragraph. Go by the bullet points. No, research those bullet points, practice them, but that natural ease with it comes across so much better. And a lot of times, pastors I talk to that have communication are like, oh yeah, my first sermon, if they do 3 on a Sunday, my first one was nothing like the second one, nothing like the third one. Because they're throwing in different points that come to their mind at the time. Or they're reading their audience and seeing that. That's what communication can do. Communication is awesome because it's great at getting the mission, the vision, the values out there. So somebody have communication and woo together. Communication and woo. Okay, that's a combo factor. Front Spokesperson. These 3 people need to be the face of the organization. They need to be ones out there, standing out there and communicating. They're great spokespeople, ultimate salesperson. Same thing with communication and belief. Who has communication and belief? These are passionate speakers, but on their values. If it's outside your values, you're not going to speak passionately unless you speak against it. Okay? But they'll do that. So again, communication enhances those things, wild card strength. So then we go to problem identification. We've talked about strategic. We've talked about ideation. Intellection. Who has intellection in the room? Raise your hand. Intellection people. All right, take a look around again. Unit of the body. Intellection is the 24/7 processing strength. Constantly going through intervals. They can be, so what's your name, sir? Roger. So Roger's going to be sitting in the living room with his wife, and his wife's going to be thinking he's not listening. No, he is. He's processing it. He's running it through the whole time. And that's what they do. And because they process it, they can get to the problem identification. We'll do the marital counseling later. It'll be fine. All right. I won't even charge you for it. It'll be great. It'll be great. All right. But intellection, that 24/7 processing theme comes through. So my wife has intellection. I shared that before. She'll come home, and here's how she uses it in a funny way. In a good way, she'll come and say, I have this issue with this student. And I'll stop her right there. I'll say, that's it. You got it. You're right. Now, if I let her go with the process, you say, but it could be this, could be this, could be this, could be this. It's usually that first inclination is right. And that 24/7 process it brings that issue to the forefront. Now, funny thing with my wife is she likes to plan out the menu for the week. So she'll say, on Monday, we can have roast beef. And I'm like, sounds great. She said, but if we have ground beef, we can have roast beef on Wednesday and tacos on Tuesday. I'm like, sounds great. She's like, but you know what? We have that leftover chicken. Let's have leftover chicken on Monday. And by that time, I'm like, let's go to McDonald's. I'm done. Let's just go. So you've got to have someone with that 24/7 processing, someone to help you pull the trigger. And that's the partner up opportunities. You need someone with traction strength. You need someone problem solving. You need someone to help you take those next steps, to encourage you in that. And again, the unity of the body. They're awesome strengths, every one of them. But they need to be used together. All right, so intellection. Go to problem solving. We've talked about restorative. I'll just hit that again. Who of you in here, I'm going to just do this specific. Who in you in here has restorative but no interpersonal strengths with it? Raise your hand. Okay, people with restorative and no interpersonal, usually like to fix things, policies, systems. They're good at working with the hands, maybe an artist, sewing, carpentry, motor mechanics if they're fixing things. Otherwise, they fix programs. They're in like education world, they're great at curriculum design, policy design, system design. Okay, but when you have restorative with interpersonal, it's more about fixing people. So I was working with the one pastor, restorative number one, no interpersonal. I said, all right, let's figure this out. Let's see how you do this. I said, what's your hobby? He said, I love to weld things. I'm like, oh yeah, that's restorative without interpersonal. Immediate gratification, because he gets to see things being fixed and fixed right away. And that's the power of it. Doesn't make you better or worse. It just makes you're going to be better with things rather than people and fixing. And that's great. Now, again, if you have interpersonal, maybe you have interpersonal sitting at 6, 7, or 8, so you might be able to fix people and things and do both. But again, the natural leaning would be to fix things without the interpersonal with restorative. Analytical, we talked about the why. Deliberative, we talked about 99%. Who has input out there? Input people, raise your hand. Okay, look around because input, really recognize input is completely underutilized. People with input like to take lots of information in, but they usually need to be invited to share it out. See, people with input, they sometimes view themselves as the jack of all trades, but the master of none because they learn a little bit factual information across a lot of fields. These are the people I want on my Trivial Pursuit team or Jeopardy team because they learn little caveats and facts and figures. And that's why it's problem solving. Because if you're sitting in a room with an input person and someone comes in and says, hey, we're having a problem with the lighting here at the core. The input person says, you know, I was reading about an article, when the lights flicker like that, I think it's something with the ballast. And see, they really have that information at their fingertips. They can share it, but they need to be invited. So invite input people to share. They have it there. They've got it. But share it. Okay, input people too. 3 out of 4 usually are collectors. They collect things. So how many input people here collect things? Shot glasses, books, information. There we go. Ma'am, what's your name? Cheryl, what do you collect? See, and awesome. Input people, sometimes input people are just collectors of information too. They love Google, but input people tend to be a little bit more pack radish too. They never know when they might need it, and they save it forever, okay? And that's great, that's powerful, but it's an input person has that information right there. We were working with the one person who is input, and she, again, this is where you've had these strengths since you were little. You may not have known their strengths, they were there, just need to be brought to strength. So she said, she has input number 1, and we asked her, do you collect things? And she said, oh, when I was in 4th grade, I collected pencil tips that would break off of pencils. She collected 600 of them. She brought them in the next day. She's now 40 years old. She brought them in the next day in a Sucrete container. Her collection of pencil tips. Now, that's a little bit maybe overboard, but that's the reality. Input people are collectors, whether it be information, things, but they have information at their fingertips. Therefore, they're awesome problem solvers because the facts are there. Tap into it. And then a ranger. Who has a ranger in the room? Raise your hand. A ranger's right over there. Ooh, just a couple of you. Rangers in high demand. So rangers. If I asked a ranger, did you raise your hand? Do you have a desk at home or anything? No. Do you have a desk anywhere? Yes. Okay. What does your desk look like? Always very clean, interesting. What are some of the other top 5? Okay, so responsibility and strategic may be playing in, but arrangers tend to be pilers. They have piles. Now, they can be neat piles, but they know. Do you have that? Oh, she's saying, yes, I have piles. All right, come on, share that right away. And, okay, but they can be neat piles, but see, they're pilers. They know where everything is in the piles, but they're pilers. Arrangers, see, the great strength of a ranger, why it's problem solving, is arrangers can juggle 8 balls at once and keep them there. They can keep 5 plates spinning at once and keep it there. Rangers see all the facets that need to go on. See, the worst day for an arranger is if they have to spend 6 hours on one task and work it all the way through. See, arrangers like to work on something for 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, come back to the other 20 minutes. For them, it's really organized, and it works. For someone with discipline, they can see that it's disorganized, but it's not. See, arrangers are the ultimate multitaskers. They can do 3, 5, 7, 8, 9 things at once. And that's why it's problem solving too, because they can see that. And they can help pull it all together so everything does work towards completion. Make sense, arrangers? All right. There's your 34 strengths. There's a little bit of a deeper dive into what they mean, how they can be used together. There's so much more that you can learn through this. So the one-on-one consultation, I'm not telling you to do them, but when we do one-on-one, we take you really deep into your individual strengths, talk about situations with that. We also share all those combination factors, and there may be different ways to do that. But my best encouragement that I can give you right now, in light of these 34 strengths that we just have went through, is realize how amazing you are. Not because of who you are, but because of who God made you to be. But embrace it. Embrace those strengths. No bad strengths. Embrace those strengths. Strengthen them. And then realize you are created with a need for others. The unity of the body. So look around you, and instead of looking at someone as a thorn in the flesh based upon their strengths, like at times I would look at my son Seth and I'd be worried, what in the world's going on? He's not getting this, he's not doing it right away. And I could have this negative view, and I do have a lot of regrets for that. And we've come to peace with that. But realize that the people around you have strengths that might be different than yours, and that's awesome. And embrace that. Because you need those strengths. So again, strengthen your strengths, look for partner-up opportunities, and then don't forget, you've got to be healthy spiritually, emotionally, and physically. Because if you're not, you're never going to use those strengths positively. As a matter of fact, the shadow side will come out all over the place. So be in the Word, Bible study, prayer life, emotionally. Don't let the emotions control you, but you control the emotion, not through your power, God's power. Physically, get good sleep, nutrition, exercise. Take care of yourselves physically. Because when you're strong and resilient in those categories, you will use those strengths to an even higher level. And then remember, strengths are only strengths for others, SFOs. Use them to serve and not to be served. We can go to the next slide, please, if you would. So there's some strengths that, again, can rub each other the wrong way, and I'm just going to go through this quickly because I've touched base on most of them. But we wanted you to have them in your packet so you would understand them, remember them after tonight, and be able to talk about them more deeply. So go ahead, go to the next one. Remember, relator and woo. Relator's deep, woo shallow, and not in a bad way. But again, they can butt heads or they can work together well by doing that connecting piece and bringing them back to the relator to go deep. Next one, please. Activator and deliberative. Again, fast charging, slower paced. Deliberative keeps activator from running off the cliff. Activator gets deliberative moving when necessary, can work well together, but can butt heads. Next one, please. Consistency and individualization. We beat that up again. Policy-driven, uniqueness-driven, you need them both. When you make those changes, then you can policize those changes, so to say, systemize those changes, and the same with the individualization. If it's someone that just needs that unique help, you can bring that to the forefront. Need them both. Next, please. Command, and notice that command is basically versus anything that's interpersonal. But again, command versus harmony. See, command's all about getting things going, hard charging. It doesn't mean they don't love these people, but they really just want to get things moving. But you need these other people because, again, people with command can run people over and leave dead bodies along the way, sometimes including their own, as they run off the cliff. So again, they need those people to help them relate and touch to the people around them. So you need those strengths together. Next one, please. Discipline and adaptability, we talked about that. If you really want to see that at practice, come and spend a day in my house. My family will tell you everything. Like, I'll go to my wife and I'll say, on Saturday, let's do this at 11. Let's do this at 1. If we have a Saturday off together, which we very rarely do, 11, 1, 3. My wife's like, whoa, we'll do it when it happens. So discipline, structure, adaptability. Again, we talked a little bit of comments there, but again, go back to the unity of the body. Go back to God. And again, I encourage each one of you every day, whether you have partners or you have marriage or you have family, encourage each other in your strengths every day. Ask at night, how did you use your strength today? And then pray, how can we use our strengths even better tomorrow? The more you keep them in front of you, the more you live them, the more you intentionalize them, the more powerful it is. So let's close with prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for how you have uniquely created and gifted each one of us with these amazing strengths. Help us to continue, most importantly, to look to you as the foundation through the love of Jesus, and help us to use these strengths better and better every day to serve you in the greatest possible way, to fulfill your commands, to share the love of Jesus with as many as possible, to build the kingdom up, to encourage others, and also to feel that fulfillment in ourselves as we fulfill those great and wonderful purposes that you've prepared in advance for us to do. We close now tonight in your name, in the name of the Father who has created us in this unique way, in the name of the Son who has saved us, in the name of the Holy Spirit who's given us faith in our hearts to spend eternity together. Amen. God's blessings, everyone. Have a great night. Thank you. Thank you.